Warning, entering ecological dead zone. Adding report to databank.
If you're familiar with Subnautica or its fandom, you likely know what thalassophobia is. It's kind of the whole deal with the game. In fact, there's probably a million other videos with the titles exactly like this on YouTube saying some of the same stuff. Good thing I'm about 6 years late to the party, and 10 if you count early access. I find that most videos on the subject kind of miss the mark about thalassophobia in general and what made the original so scary, and why I feel like Below Zero kind of fell flat. Especially with all the talks of the sequel floating around, I thought I'd throw my hat into the ring, cause why not? Without further ado, here's what I think Subnautica teaches us about thalassophobia. So, if you look up thalassophobia videos on YouTube, you'll likely see something like this. Or in the case of the Subnautica community, you might see some mods of the infamous Gargantuan Leviathan. While they can be scary, I honestly think they're kind of cheap, in the same way a jump scare is in a horror game. Despite what most people would say, I really don't think the Leviathans are the scariest part of the game. Now, I know that's a hot take, because they're kind of the iconic thing about the game, but hear me out. Here's the thing. Big scary sea monsters are not necessarily a part of thalassophobia. I mean, they can contribute to it, but big fuck off monsters technically fall under megalophobia. It sounds pedantic, but it really makes all the difference. Thalassophobia is all about atmosphere and tone. The Leviathans in Subnautica rely on their surroundings to make them frightening. You can make them bigger and bigger all you want. At a certain point, there's a diminishing return on how scary something is based on its size. And the more you interact with Leviathans, the scarier they become. Just like any other jump scare or monster in a horror game. Let's be honest, the creatures in the game aren't exactly the sharpest tools in the fuckwit box. Once you know how they work, it's pretty easy to exploit them, especially with the stasis rifle. Once you have that in the prawn suit, you basically become fucking Doom Guy. All of this is why the ice worm sucks. The ice worm is the most lackluster Leviathan in the franchise to me. Sorry to all the ice worm fans out there, I guess, but this dude is just straight up not scary. Sure, it startled me when it first popped out, but as soon as I saw how it moved, I scrolled through my video game encyclopedia and went, oh, I could just hit this bitch with one of these. And there's nothing you can really do about it. The reason sea monsters are especially threatening is because they can attack you from any angle, and humans are naturally at a disadvantage in the water. Just being big does not make something scary. If anything, the ice worm is just annoying, because it could knock you off your bike for a second just for it to completely whiff its attack. This is exactly my point. Megalophobia is short-term shock. Thalassophobia is supposed to be a slow burning and ever-present dread, and Subnautica completely embodies this. When I played Subnautica for the first time, I was absolutely terrified of the prospect of going deeper than the shallows. Even the grassy plateaus were scary when I first started, and I consider that part of the safe zone now. It's not hard to see why. Everything in Subnautica has this haze to it, much like water does in real life. You can't see too far for the most part until you get a vehicle with sonar. Compare this to Below Zero and you could see why I don't feel nearly as anxious when playing it. Part of this is because the Below Zero map is a lot smaller than the crater basin of Subnautica, so everything is sort of smushed together. As a result, Below Zero never feels as ominously empty as Subnautica. Another unintended reason is the greater optimization of Below Zero. Don't get me wrong, I prefer how Below Zero runs, but funnily enough, Subnautica's shitty render distance kind of adds to the fog of war effect caused by the water lighting. Subnautica is also just straight up much deeper than Below Zero. Off the top of my head, the deepest you go in Below Zero is 700 to 800 meters, and most of the map is either above water or about 100 to 200 meters down. While Subnautica requires you to dive about 1700 meters to finish the story. The moments I remember the most, almost more than the Leviathans, were always choking down my fear at the edge of a precipice. Both islands have moments like this. I remember first going to the alien facility and getting down to the underwater dock area and just staring into the nothingness. This only becomes more frightening once you realize there's a Reaper near the outside of the island, so watch out for that, I guess, if you haven't played the game. Similarly, there is a moment on the floating island, especially if you teleported there and don't know what's under you, where you jump into the water for the first time and see nothing but the abyss staring back. I know this game, I know there's nothing down there, but I still hate it to this day. Then there's the moment you have to pilot your beautiful Cyclops into the darkness to get down to the Lost River. Absolutely soul-rending, especially because there's actual legitimate threats in the area, and the Cyclops takes so much to build, it's like, you don't want to lose it. But above all, there are two infamous moments that combine the concepts of Thalassophobia and Leviathans and rocket them to new heights. The first, so simple, yet so effective. The PDA warning.
Detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it?
Notice the surroundings. All the features that usually dot the map drop away. All we're left with is the empty dunes and descent into darkness. Makes you feel even more isolated than usual. It's just you, and whatever else is out there staring back. The second, of course, is going to the Aurora for the first time. Again, look at the surroundings. You can immediately feel that there is something off here. If you discover the nearby life pod first, you know that there is something out there. The haze is thick, but you push on. And then, at the edge of what's visible, you see a silhouette. You see the Reaper, and you hear its roars. Not only is it incredibly effective from a fear standpoint, this is likely the first Leviathan you've seen in the whole game. That is why the Reaper makes such a strong impression. It's not the biggest Leviathan by a long shot. It doesn't need to be. It's still the one that invokes the most fear into the fanbase. Like I said, being big only gets you so far. Everywhere you can find a Reaper is eerie and empty. It roars loudly, so you can hear it before you can even see it. All of a sudden, you feel unsafe. That is effective use of Thalassophobia. The only comparable moment in Below Zero is in the Crystal Caves with the Shadow Leviathans. Because of the lack of visibility and the Shadow Leviathan effectively blending in with the dark background, it can really sneak up on you, and that is genuinely scary. Unfortunately, the game immediately ruins this tension in the next section. I just want to get something off my chest real quick. Who on the design team thought it was a good idea to put 800 Shadow Leviathans in these goddamn caves? This stupid centipede looking motherfucker is somehow everywhere I go. One of them literally spawned in my face just to fuck with me. And like I said, jump scares have diminishing returns. Once you get caught by it once or twice, it's not scary anymore. It's just annoying as hell. Not only that, as soon as you get to the red crystals, the haze goes away, and they instantly become less scary because they stick out like a sore thumb. And what sick bastard made it so that there is one by each entrance to the Fabricator Caverns? It's literally impossible to avoid them because their path is too close to the entrance. You have to run behind some crystals and watch a stupid ass swim straight into the wall for 15 seconds. I don't want it to seem like I hate Below Zero. There were just some things that annoyed me. Really, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. It's just hard to compete with a 10 out of 10, which I think Subnautica is. If you take anything away from this, or if anybody's even watching this, it should be that Thalassophobia is not big monster water scary. It's primal fear of the unknown, and the omnipresent knowledge that you are within someone else's domain. It's staring into the fathomless and seeing nothing but the gaping maw of infinite possibility staring back. That is Thalassophobia, and that is what makes Subnautica such a great game.